back to the Bears Baseball Network. We had another very, very exciting week of the BWL, and I'll tell you what, of the 4 leagues through 5 weeks, the closest you can get is a 3-2 record in 5 weeks, and 3 of our 4 leagues are at 3-2. It's been a tight race on all of the leagues, and even 18U, where it's a 1-4 record. The games since week 2 have been very, very close in that league as well, so exciting. Let's go ahead and break down the games from week 5. It was a very exciting day. All of the games, for the most part, were close throughout a lot of it, and let's go ahead and start with 12-13U. This game, back and forth. Both teams had a lot of chances, but it was the Pinstripes who ended up taking care of business in that one. Bernie, I want to go ahead and start with you. Cam Bernstein last year was a BWL phenom. This year had the big hits in this one. Bernie, Cam Bernstein, really tough to get out right now. What do you think about this 12-13U game?
Yeah, it was a great game. I think Cam's been quiet the past couple weeks. And according to KJ, it was because no one was talking crap to him. And I talked a lot of crap to him before the game, and he absolutely went off in the game. He had 2 shots. The home run was a shot. Even the single was a shot. He performed very well.
Yeah, and with the break, everybody had basically every arm available in this game, and KJ used 2 of his big ones in this game to really get the win. KJ, your pitching staff, I would say the inconsistencies of strike throwing is maybe what's been the weak point of this team, but on Saturday, these guys were on. What did you think about the pitching performance from the Pinstripes?
Oh, yeah. Guys were good, and we threw a lot of strikes. I think my mindset, I'm never going to play for next week. I was planning to, get the win this week, and I think I did that in 2 of my leagues. Both leagues we won at. We used a lot of pitching to get the wins, and so, I thought we did a good job. And this next week, we're going to really see what the pitching staffs are made of.
Yeah, and I thought not only were they throwing strikes, KJ, but they were doing it with multiple pitches. Caden Inman is obviously notorious for being a great curveball strike thrower, but Avery McNicholas in relief, he dominated with the off speed. His off speed looked better in that game than it ever has. So very, very impressive stuff in that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the B League. And in this one, it was a good game from both teams, but it was the B League throwbacks who ended up taking it. And I'll tell you what, Bernie, this guy seems like he's been the talk of the BWL B League, but Colin Sandler does it again. 2 more home runs, another double. Bernie, I know you like this guy since he joined the Bears, but what has gotten into him? How does he just continue to just dominate at the plate?
Yeah, look, this is a guy who kind of has dove all in since he joined, I think. He's really taken our approach to heart, and you're seeing it pay off right now in the BWL. I was there for his first home run. It was an absolute shot. I believe he might be leading B League in home runs. Maybe
he is leading the B League in home runs now that Eric's been called up.
So he's had a great season, right? He's definitely on Rob's radar now for this upcoming spring season.
Yeah, he's been dominant. I mean, he had a little bit of a slow week 4 that either he went 0 for 3 or maybe went 1 for 4. It was a little bit of a slow week 4, and you wondered, okay, maybe the hot streak is over. No, after the break, comes back, dominates week 5. A monster performance, helped the throwbacks get a nice win in this one. Alex Ruppel getting moved from the A League to the B League to pitch. He was dominant through 3 innings of work, and then Max Sandler and Jacob Villette looked good through the back door. KJ, obviously, 3 of your big dogs getting called up to the A-League on this team. For the B-League going forward, what do you think this new group of guys, where are you looking to get a little bit more going forward?
Yeah, I think, I don't think we lost too much with the bats. We gained some big-time bats. Evan Little, he had an immediate impact once he got down there. Trevor and Matthew didn't have great weeks, but they're both really good hitters. We need to find a pitching staff. All 3 of those guys that were taken, they all pitch. So we just need to find a pitching staff, got to find consistency in strikes. And the guys who stayed, Evan Wheatley, Drew Blattner, Logan Payne, those guys got to keep throwing strikes.
Yeah, I thought this team, I think it's going to be a slugfest a lot of weeks, but I think this week in particular, it was an interesting matchup where the throwbacks pitched really well. The Pinstripes, maybe their depth of pitching got tested a little bit, but I think this league going forward is going to be very, very competitive down the stretch. Let's move on to the A-League. Speaking of competitive leagues, this league, in my opinion, is the most competitive. And we've seen a little bit of everything through 5 weeks in this league. We've seen a close win by both teams. We've seen a blowout win by both teams. We've seen a lot of competitive baseball. Now the throwbacks are on a 2-game win streak in this one. And really, for me, it was the 14U guys against the 15U pitchers. Evan Lancaster had 2 huge at-bats, including a grand slam that kind of iced the game. And Ivan Saxon was unavailable. Aaron Noel hit leadoff. He had 2 clutch hits. So I thought really, really impressive at bats by those guys. KJ, looking on the other side of the ball, the throwbacks pitching staff against the Pinstripes hitters. What did you see on that end? Obviously, this was a 6-6 game going into last inning before the throwbacks kind of took control. What did you see about the at-bats that the Pinstripes took in this one off the throwbacks pitchers?
Again, we could never just, we couldn't take advantage of the big opportunities we have. I thought we had a lot of opportunities to win that game, and just couldn't get it done. So we had some changes in the lineup. We definitely have a ton of talent on that team. It's just about we got to hit in the right spots.
Yeah, and I would say that's been the throwbacks' weakness through the first couple weeks of the season was getting that big hit when they needed it. But definitely, guys like Evan, guys like Wes Brody, and Aaron Noel really stepped up in this one and got the big hits and the big spots. And then finally, we had 18U, where the Pinstripes took a 4-1 lead in the series. It was also a 4-1 victory in the game. And this one was just a pitching masterclass. Like you said, KJ, trying to win this week through 2 big arms, Mac and Brady, which for the first 4 weeks, you were kind of alternating them week in and week out. This week, you went all in, and they pitched a great game, both of them. KJ, talk about the pitching staff. These 2 guys really put on a clinic.
Oh, yeah. Big players make big plays, and, Max shut it down through 3, and Brady basically did too. So, everyone did their job in that game. We faced, some tough pitchers and, are able to score 4 runs off some really good guys. So, just a good all-around game, but, this coming week, because of how far we went last week. This week here we're going to get tested, so we'll see how good the bats are.
Yeah, and speaking of week 6, let's go ahead and get into the matchups. Bernie, what'd you go? You go 2-2 in predictions last week? You go 3-1? 3-1 in predictions last week for Bernie. Move into 13-7? 13-7 on the season. Bernie is really cruising since week 1. So let's go ahead and through the matchups. In the 12-13U game, throwbacks are home in all 4 games. Cam Bernstein on the mound for the Pinstripes. ZZ Garcia. In theory, a match of aces getting matched up here in week 6. Bernie, what do you think about this one? Who do you got winning, Pinstripes with Cam or throwbacks with ZZ?
Yeah, it's tough, man. But I think where I look to, maybe pick the throwbacks is because of the Pinstripes' lack of pitching depth. But with Avery Sullivan and Eddie Man, I think Kale will be there this week. They have some guys who come in behind Cam. So I think it's going to be a lot closer game than maybe it was the first or second time these guys matched up, I think. But I'm still going to go with throwbacks to win the close game.
Okay, throwbacks are 3-2 in that matchup, so looking to increase to 4-2. Moving into the B League, got Trevor Anderson, new addition for this Pinstripe team. He came over in compensation when the throwbacks claimed Nolan Chilton. So Trevor Anderson getting his first start for the Pinstripes, and then Jaden Coleman getting his 3rd pitching outing here for the throwbacks. Bernie, B League has been very, very competitive. It is 3-2 favoring the Pinstripes right now. Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, again, I think the throwbacks have the better pitcher, at least starting this game. And look, I'm just going to make the Pinstripes pitchers, prove it to me with losing those big arms that they can put together a full game of staff. So I will take the throwbacks again in this game.
Okay, that would put the series at 3-3 if Bernie is right about that one. Moving into the A-League game, once again, this one is currently 3-2 in favor of the Pinstripes. We've got Lucas Wilburn, I believe, getting his first start of the season in the BWL this season. He's pitched several times in relief. From what I remember, he was dominant his first relief outing, and he was just okay in his second relief outing. So getting a chance to start here. Quinn Steinbeck, he was solid in both outings. Wasn't necessarily dominant. Definitely wasn't a liability. He was just solid in both games. He was the starting pitcher in the throwbacks' first win. Bernie, who you got in this one? Will he be going against Quinn?
Yeah, look, I think this is maybe the toughest league to pick every week, but I don't want to pick a throwbacks sweep of the day. So I think this is the closest game. The Pinstripes have lost 2 straight. I'll just go ahead and take the Pinstripes to bounce back and get another win.
Okay, that would put the Pinstripes at 4-2 in that league, breaking a 2-game losing streak. And then finally, Bernie, we've got 18U. I think you kind of just hinted at it there, but Adam Tobias on the mound for the Pinstripes, Reese Payne on the mound for the throwbacks. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, look, if you would ask me week 1 if I was ever going to pick the throwbacks in the 18U league, I probably would have said no. But they've played really well recently. They've been fighting back, and I think Reese Payne is just a very good pitcher, so I will take the throwbacks. For the first time all season, I picked them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Bernie, the first 2 weeks was absolute blowout wins by the Pinstripes. Then the next 3 weeks, you had a close loss, a 1-run loss, a win, and a 3-run loss. So this throwbacks team definitely starting to look better. Some roster changes in between week 2 and week 3. So I think this series definitely been competitive. A throwbacks win would make it 4-2 in favor of the Pinstripes. KJ, what is the number one thing? Maybe it's a league, maybe it's a matchup. What is the number one thing you would think is most interesting about week number 6 here?
Might be a little biased, but I think it's going to be, how these guys bounce back. I mean, like I said earlier, for my 12-13 league, I use some horses. For my 15U B league, I use my horses. So, guys who haven't really pitched are going to pitch for me. In my 18 league, guys who don't really pitch that much are going to have to pitch. So it's just about new guys stepping up. That A league, I've been rotating a lot. We got so many good hitters. It's just about guys stepping up. And for the earlier game, how can we find an answer off ZZ, who's pretty much dominated? So I think every game has, little things that, guys are going to watch.
Yeah, and at least for me, I think of the entirety of the day, I think this is the toughest 4 games to call, Bernie. I don't know how easy you thought it was for all 4 of these games, but for me, I think these 4 games this week with these pitching matchups, considering who's not available, I think these are the 4 toughest games that any week we've had so far. I feel like each week there's been at least 1 or 2 games that are kind of gimmies. I feel like this one, any game could go either way, so very, very excited for this. That's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network. On Tuesday, we'll be back for another episode of the BBN After Dark, so be sure to check that out. But check out BWL this weekend, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network. We'll talk to you later.